You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, Episode 33, Aromatherapy and Menopause, Part 1. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies to transform your health and happiness. Welcome back. Today I have a treat for you. I've long been wanting to talk about aromatherapy for menopause, but it's not my zone of genius. So I started my search for practitioners who specialize in supporting women transitioning into menopause by using aromatherapy. And in my search, I found two very successful and experienced practitioners, Mary Bloom and V. O'Brien. They are both amazing practitioners, and I couldn't choose between them, so I asked them both to join the podcast. My original plan was to have one episode with both women, but the amount of knowledge and value both women contributed, I couldn't bring myself to edit it down to one show. So stay tuned to hear the first installment. Word of warning, with this particular episode, my audio is a little bit soft in comparison to Mary's, and I apologize for this in advance. It was my fault when I recorded it. Anyway, set your volume for Mary, as she speaks the most and she repeats my comments. But before we get started, I wanted to remind everyone that the doors are open to my online membership. The online retreat. The online retreat is for you. Stop struggling with your menopause transition. Imagine a life without hot flushes, mood swings, fatigue, or other menopausal symptoms. Your health and your happiness is too important to try to wait it out. The transition can take over a decade. If you are ready to reclaim your life, join today. But now, on to my conversation with Mary. Well, the first guest today is Mary Nash, and Mary is the director of the UK Health Coaches Association. She works with women struggling with menopause-related symptoms to make natural and lifestyle changes to take back control of their health. She is a successful health coach and she loves essential oils, so she was an obvious choice to come and talk to us today about how we can use essential oils for our menopausal transition. Mary, welcome.
Thank you. It's a real honour to be here today.
I'm so glad that you could fit it in. You must have a very, very busy schedule, and we appreciate
So this one's first thing in the morning for me, so it fits in great.
Fantastic. So, Mary, do you mind telling my listeners a little bit about yourself and why you love essential oils?
Oh, right, yes. So, as you said, I work with women who are really struggling with their menopause symptoms, and I focus on natural lifestyle. So lots you do. I know you talk in your other podcasts about all the things you can do. But one of the reason I particularly like adding essential oils in as a toolkit is that, first of all, it can give women an instant solution. I don't mean that everything will instantly go, but many of the symptoms can be treated with some kind of instant improvement or response. And if you're making other lifestyle changes, like maybe changing your diet, that can take some time to have an effect.
Absolutely.
So essential oils can give an immediate solution. And they're also like something you can almost physically hold that can give you sort of like a little bit of a prop or a bit of a boost. You can carry them around your handbag, you can have them on your desk in your household. So I think it's really nice to have something that is a bit more tangible at times, when a lot of the sorts of natural lifestyle changes you can make will take time. The other thing about essential oils, as long as you use a guaranteed pure therapeutic grade, is that they're basically plant-based medicine. And so it is a way of getting, if you like, therapeutic benefits, specifically from plants into your body. And that's what we've actually been doing for millennia. And it takes us back to it.
I like that. Well, as you know, I'm a medical herbalist, love herbs, and essential oils do come into a little bit of use when we're looking at the benefits of herbal medicine, but we're not generally smelling our herbs. So I've always been intrigued with essential oils, but it's not obviously something that I know that well, which is why I got you to come on the show today, because I know that's something that you love and you're passionate about. So when we're looking at menopause in particular, if I was, say I'm experiencing a hot flush, and you said that the oils are something that I can use right here and now, what would you recommend in that scenario?
Hot flushes are a great one. They're one of the wonderful things you can deal with immediately. Peppermint essential oil would be my top tip for hot flushes. So again, I'm talking about pure therapeutic grade. So these are ones without anything added in, without anything taken out, so unadulterated. And if you put one drop of peppermint in your hand, palm of your hand, and rub it on the back of your neck, it is like putting an instant ice pack on the back of your neck, and it will cool you down there and then. So
I could do with that now.
Yeah, you could. I'm in a colder climate than you. I need the opposite at the moment.
Oh, but yes, a very hot day here in Sydney.
Yeah, it's and peppermint is not just for hot flushes. It is also for if you're hot because the climate's hot, or if you're hot because you're nervous, that kind of nervous sweating, building up a bit of heat. There are lots and lots of therapeutic benefits. I should also just explain, if you haven't come across essential oils are the immune system of the plant, in really simple terms. And what that means, so if you think about in nature, plants can't defend themselves by running away or by fighting. So they have to have really strong defense mechanisms in them, and that's their immune system. And because we are carbon-based like plants, we get that same benefit from whatever those messages are. So that's why essential oils are so powerful. And coming back to your point about herbs and smell, so essential oils are lovely because of the smell. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But the therapeutic powers are more than just the smell. So a lot of what you work with, the therapeutic powers of herbs, will be the same in essential oils. And if you think of something like lavender, which we'll definitely come to, lavender has about 200 chemical properties, of which 2 have smell.
Wow.
Yes.
And it's such a smelling plant. It's a beautiful plant.
It's absolutely beautiful, and it's so multi-purpose in terms of its therapeutic benefits, but it's not just the smell. So even people who can't smell can still get a lot of benefits. But anyway, I just thought I'd put that in there, because not all your listeners maybe have come across essential oils or really have understood why they might like them. And see, you were talking about hot flushes, and peppermint's the top one. So I always have a bottle of peppermint in my handbag. But if you're getting a lot of hot flushes and that's something you're suffering from regularly, you could make up a spray, buy a little spray bottle, about a quarter of witch hazel, and then I'd put a couple of drops of peppermint, lavender, and clary sage. So those would be the top 3 in a hot flushes spray.
And where are you spraying? Are you spraying your face? Are you spraying the air and walking into it? What are you doing with this?
So you must be careful not to get them around your eyes. You'd be spraying probably around the back of your neck, or if you close your eyes, cover your eyes, maybe a little bit around your temples, or you could spray a bit in your hands and rub around the back of your neck, around your temples. You could also put that on the bottom of your feet each morning. So putting essential oils on the bottom of your feet gets them into your system very quickly. So there's lots of different ways of using essential oils. We talked about smelling them aromatically, applying them topically to your skin, or some you can take internally as well. I won't talk particularly about internally for some of these menopausal symptoms, but there are many benefits of internally. But that spray, you can either have, I would be spraying it on you predominantly. You can inhale it, but you must be careful not to get it in your eyes.
Thank you. Anything else for hot flushes, or should we move on to another symptom?
I'd just say really briefly, if you get night sweats, then peppermint, you have to be a little bit more careful, because if you use it at night, it can be quite stimulating, and that might help stop your sleep. I think we're going to talk about sleep, so we wouldn't necessarily want that. So
it's your daytime remedy rather than your nighttime remedy.
It is, but there's a blend called the Women's Monthly Blend. Even if you are not having periods, you're post-menopause, this is still a fantastic range of oils in it. And I've worked with women who have used that, and they use it at night. And I've got a great quote. It says that this blend works a treat for my night sweats, very welcomed by me and my hubby that usually wakes up in a soggy mess. So that's another option. So it's called the Women's Monthly Blend.
And I think we should note that's a doTERRA blend, isn't it?
It is, yes, it's doTERRA. So personally, I work with doTERRA because I believe that the quality of them is the best. As I mentioned, the important thing is to get a pure therapeutic grade oil.
Yeah. It was just if someone was looking for it, I wanted to help point them in the right direction.
Yes, and the doTERRA blend's name, thank you, is called Clary Calm, and there's a clue in the title there.
Fantastic. So should we move on to sleep?
Yes. And I mean, sleep is so important, isn't it? I know you've talked about this a lot in your podcasts, and you talk about it.
You can't properly function without it.
Oh, you can't.
Need it for rest, recovery, repair, sanity.
I mean, absolutely. Sanity, that is absolutely right. And personally, I was someone who slept well all my life. And then I hit the menopause and I stopped sleeping so well. And I honestly thought this is what happens when you get older. Everyone says you don't need so much sleep. But I wasn't really doing very well on less sleep. Anyway, so this is something that's really, really close to home. I've now sorted it out and sleeping much better.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah, now for sleep, there is lots that essential oils can do. And these are both on a slightly longer term ongoing support, as well as that instant. The instant one, the top one is lavender. So I mentioned that 200 properties, of which 2 are to do with smell. So lavender has been shown in studies that it increases sleep quality. It has calming and sedative properties, and may lift feelings of sort of depression and anxiety. So as a top tip, I would diffuse lavender at night if you have a diffuser. Now, do you know what a diffuser is? Shall I explain what that is?
I know what a diffuser is, but I'm not sure that everyone else knows. So maybe just a quick sentence.
Okay, so a diffuser these days, it's not with heat, so you don't want to be heating because that changes the chemical properties. It's basically a container with water that you put your essential oil in, and it's ultrasonic. It sends a jet of water vapor with those precious essential oil molecules into the air. So it fills the air so that you then inhale it.
Perfect, thank you.
Great. So I have a diffuser by my bed, and so lavender is a top essential oil to diffuse. You could also apply it topically. You could put just a drop on your pillow if you don't have anything else apart from the oil, or you could make it up in a roller ball with a carrier oil. I usually use fractionated coconut oil, and I roller it every night on the inside of my wrist. And then when you lie down, if you imagine you're lying on your side, you kind of got your nose quite close to your wrist if you cuddle up that direction.
Fetal position.
In a fetal position, that's right.
Or
So
in a
somewhere.
spooning position too, if you're.
Oh yeah, well, that's different. That's our next subject, I think.
Okay.
So lavender is the top. Yes, sorry, we'll wait for that for a minute. um, so lavender is absolutely the top one for that. I mean, there are plenty of other oils, and one of the beauties about essential oils is that they're quite adaptive and they work differently for different people. So for some people, lavender might just be it. And I have to say, for most people, it will make a phenomenal difference to their sleep. You know, I have women who say, I slept through for the first time since I can remember, that sort of thing. But that for some women, they might want to choose other. Lavender works for about 90%, but for some people, it can be quite stimulating. So you just have to try it out. So I'll just mention the names of a couple of other oils that are often very beneficial for sleep. So you've got Roman chamomile is a really good one. Bergamot.
Chamomile tea as well. You might as well put on some chamomile tea and burn some chamomile oil.
Yeah, and if actually, I said I wouldn't mention internally, but sometimes I have a drop of Roman chamomile in hot water. You shouldn't put it in boiling water. That's a drop of essential oil. So if you don't have the tea bags, or even if you do, you can add it in, and it's much more powerful.
We're talking about putting it in water. Something that I like to do, well, not this time of year, but in winter, is having a nice warm bath before bed. Like, could these oils be dropped in the bath, or is the bath water too warm?
Yes, that's a brilliant one. So when you're using essential oils in the bath, if you just drop them in the bath, they kind of sit on the top of the water, and then when you get in, they cover your skin. Now, again, if you're using a guaranteed pure therapeutic grade, then most oils will be all right direct on your skin, but we don't generally recommend that because over time that can give you a sensitivity. I mean, lavender is a bit of an exception because actually lavender is really soothing for skin irritations. But generally, when you put them in the bath, I'd suggest mixing them with some Epsom salts. So put some Epsom salts in a cup or a little bowl, put a few drops of your chosen essential oil, just wait for that to soak, and then put the Epsom salts in. And I'm sure you talked about it, Epsom salts are really, really beneficial for helping detox, which is a really big thing about managing your menopausal symptoms.
And it's also magnesium. So a good way to get some magnesium into you so you get a better night's sleep. But while we were talking about the bath, an idea came to mind. You were talking about the oils directly on the skin. What if you put a little bit of coconut oil or something like that with the oils in the bath? That way the coconut oil could also moisturize the skin, or is that still going to potentially lead to skin irritations down the track?
That's something that I sometimes do. I sometimes just put a couple of drops of carrier oil in my palm, add the oils, the essential oils, just mix them in, and then swirl my hand through the bath.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah. The whole thing about a bath and sleep, people say that, oh, I'm nice and warm and cozy from the bath and that makes me sleep. It's not actually that. I don't know if you've talked about it otherwise. It's the fact that when you come out of the bath, your body drops temperature, and that's what your body needs. It's a signal for sleep, is that drop of temperature. Just because I know we'll probably need to move on, but other essential oils that are good for sleep, for that nighttime, for settling the mind, cedarwood and bergamot and vetiver. So that's a few. There is, again, different brands might do it differently, but there's something called a restful blend, which has got lavender and vetiver and some other oils in, which is designed specifically for sleep. So there's quite a nice choice for sleep, and they're so powerful to help you.
Well, they're certainly worth a try.
Yes, it is. And the one final thing I'd mention for sleep, if I may, is that a lot of sleep is to do with your circadian rhythm, and part of your circadian rhythm is waking up in the morning. And if that's something you struggle with, you might use peppermint in the morning to help sort of waken the senses and help drive that sort of, whoa, circadian rhythm, it's the morning, which in turn can help it understand that later on, for 15 hours later, whatever, it's night. So there's a pairing there that you can help use.
Yeah, I've spoken about sleep in the past, and I also like using light. So yes, it's the morning, get outside. I know not everywhere in the world has sunlight first thing in the morning. Um, Hopefully you live somewhere where you can actually get out during the day and see some sunlight. And then again at
Yes.
night, just going outside and recognizing it's dark, there's the stars, there's the moon, dark sky, sleep time. But you've also got to manage your lights inside because you can't go from a walk in the dark kind of thing and come back to bright lights at home. You need to get some lamps, turn the lights down, dim the lights, so you're coming back to like a darker, a dimmer room. Therefore,
Yeah.
it's a signal to the brain. Okay, it's time for sleep.
Yes, and that's where using essential oils can give you that bit of a boost. If you're really some people are really, really struggle in the morning and they don't have the motivation to get outside, and they'll just go, and putting a bit of inhaling some peppermint essential oil, just put one drop on your palm, rub your palms together. I'm doing it. I know you can't see me. And then cup your palms over your nose. Be careful of your eyes, and take some deep inhales of that peppermint, and maybe another one called wild orange. The two of those it will give you a real uplifting boost. And if you're feeling a bit ambivalent about whether I can be bothered to get outside or not be bothered, but have got the kind of motivation because you're feeling really low, which I know is something that
Well, you've got to get out of bed first before you're going
yeah,
outside. So maybe that's something you can keep on your bedside table to motivate you to get
absolutely.
up.
Yeah, so that kind of twinning, again, it's that instant support that I love.
Good. I think they're fabulous tips. Thank you for those, Mary. But
Pleasure.
we've got one last topic to cover.
I know we have, and this is the exciting one.
Oh, yes. So I sort of ruined the surprise a little bit by talking about spooning. So hint, hint, nudge, nudge, we're talking about the bedroom. And Mary's going to give us some ideas about how we can spice up or turn our libido back on.
Absolutely. And this is something that isn't talked about enough. And personally, I think that sex is something that's really important in our lives. And to have that affected by our menopausal hormones, I think is really, really tough. And it's something that a lot of women just think happens. They just put up with it. And I think that's tragic. I think just like everything else, we should look for help, ideas and support for that. So I'm delighted to be talking about it. And hopefully some of your listeners will either use some of these tips or at the very least will go, oh, it's not just me. Oh, that's normal. Maybe there's something I can do about it. I should seek some help. So really delighted that you've asked me to talk about this.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to butt in here to say that if it is something that you're struggling with, I highly, highly recommend a book called Sexy Brain. And in this book, she talks about the quality of your life being directly impacted by the quality of your sex life.
Oh,
And
interesting.
she talks about it being such an essential component of life. We are sexual beings. It should be something that we enjoy and that we look forward to and that we see it as a normal, essential, everyday part of life. But when we don't want it anymore, when that desire is gone, it really affects every area of our life. So that's why I was so excited when Mary offered to talk about libido today, because we need hints, we need tips, we need to try different things to get it back.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's really interesting. I'm going to go and look up that book. I hadn't heard of that one.
I will put it in the show notes because the author's name has temporarily left me, but it's Sexy Brain. Look for it in the show notes. It is a fabulous read.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay. So I thought the thing about libido is probably take a little bit of a step back to understand some of the reasons why our sex drive can be affected. Because I think that helps us unpick and find some possible solutions. So one of the really big things is what's called our stress response. And again, I know you talked about this and we've talked about it in other conversations. So modern life tends to be stressful. And I just hesitated there. Even if we haven't got big major stresses such as illness, divorce, those sorts of things, just all the little daily things hit us, social media feed, all our email boxes, traffic being late, all those sorts of things create all these little micro stress responses. And for listeners who aren't really tuned in and sort of work through this, when we have even these little micro responses, our body's stress response kicks in. And biologically, our stress response is designed to save our lives, to be blunt. Clearly, just because the train's late, it's not a life or death, but our body doesn't know that. And so it still kicks in that same response. And again, if you think biologically, if it's a matter of living or not, quite frankly, good sex is at the bottom of the list. Your body doesn't need to have good sex to survive. It needs to fight the wild lion or whatever it is. So as soon as your stress response starts kicking in, and especially where you get these constant little micro stress doses, your stress response is heightened, and that is very likely to have quite a profound effect on many aspects of your biological function, but on your libido. It is one of the first things that's going to go, isn't it? If you're surviving,
yes,
sex is
that
not.
And fertility, but at this stage of life,
Yeah,
behind you.
Yeah. But we've still got this whole libido response. So that's one of the really big things. I just mentioned we do have, as women, we have lower levels of testosterone, and they're important, but they decreased during the menopause and are much lower post-menopause. Also, estrogen is really important. Again, we know that decreases and is much lower. So those are two crucial hormones to look at supporting. And then finally, we also have emotional responses. So we might have issues like with our bodies. We might have got into a habit of a sex life that might not be fulfilling us. It might be not fitting in very well in our lives, and we have some almost emotional hang-ups. So
And
looking at
body
those
image.
Sorry, say that again?
As body image. A lot of women, our body changes over time, and with the menopausal transition, some women do gain weight, and those women might not recognize themselves when they look in the mirror. They might not feel sexy, but that doesn't mean they're not sexy to their partner.
Absolutely. And yes, that whole body changing, whether you've put on weight or whether you can see some sags or whether you're thinking stretch marks, I'm growing old, and what does that mean? I think different things are going to affect different people, but I want to mention that because there are oils that can tap in and support all of those. Now, I could probably spend too long on this, but I'll mention some of why the oils can help and maybe some of the top oils. So the thing about using these oils is when you inhale them, they go straight into your limbic brain. So they can really start working on some of the emotions. They can really start helping manage that stress response. And they can help boost those levels of, or support your body to boost the levels of hormones. They can connect directly with your pleasure centers, and they can help you be relaxed and actually be open to sexual pleasures. So can you see that how they can help work on several different levels with some of these, if you like, causes or some of the reasons why our libido is going down. Now, I've got 4 top oils which I'll mention, and I can sort of come back and talk a bit about one of them. Ylang ylang is an amazing oil. That's probably the top one. Enhances sensuality and can help boost libido. You've got geranium, which is a fantastic female essential oil. I don't know if geranium's one you use in your herbs at all.
You can use it as a herbal medicine.
Yeah, I mean, it's really calming and grounding emotions, helps balance stress, can elevate feelings of happiness and love, and help relax the mind and body. I love geranium. I use that a lot. And then you've got jasmine. Jasmine's a beautiful oil. It's calming and soothing, helps boost the confidence, can help enhance feelings of sensuality and arousal. So that's jasmine. And then sandalwood is as a prize for its ability to act as an aphrodisiac, and it can help balance hormonal issues while improving mood and relieving anxiety that might be associated with intimacy. So you can hear in 4 oils all those potential benefits.
I'm thinking about putting it in a massage oil. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? What a way to spice up the bedroom.
Absolutely, yes. So you can diffuse these. Massage is brilliant. You might put it in the bath if you want to kind of warm yourself up on several levels, shall we say. You can drop them on the pillows, you can roll them. But yes, I mean, using them as a massage on each other, obviously the massage itself will have enormous benefits, and you'll both be enjoying these fantastic aromas and properties. And they are beautiful oils to smell, but as I said, it's far more than just the smell.
Wow. I'm I'm learning so much today, Mary. I'm certainly going to go out and get myself quite a few different oils that I'm going to try on myself over the next week.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Have I got time to mention one other thing associated in this subject?
Oh, how can I say no to you, Mary? Go for it.
So it is associated with libido, dry vagina, vaginal dryness.
Very important topic. Please go there.
Yeah, again, this is something that I don't think is talked about enough. Again, women often think that's what happens when I get older. There's some horrible phrases about sort of, dried up. Anyway, I won't go there because they're just awful.
Actually, can I go there? Because
of course you can.
I found out the real meaning of the word hag. I
always
thought being called an old hag was a derogative word. I found out that actually it means fairy, enlightened one, teacher. And I'm like, I'd love to be called an old hag now if people realize the true meaning behind the word. It's an old European folklore. I think maybe Scottish. I don't quite recall, but I was so excited when I heard that.
That's brilliant. I bet it's Celtic, which is Scots and Ireland. Yes, that sounds logical. I hadn't heard that, but that kind of makes sense. Really interesting. Anyway,
the meaning of words changes over time.
Yes, and these days I think it's got a derogatory, and when you say dried up, it's got all these different, well, for me, it's got all these different associations, and that's not how we have to be. We don't have to be like that.
So what are your suggestions for it? What can we do?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, going back and understanding what's happening, it's a lot to do with our estrogen levels. So anything we can do to support estrogen levels, and I know you talk about that lots and lots of different ways, but that women's monthly blend, the one that with the doTERRA is called Clary Calm, use that regularly to support your estrogen levels. So that's an ongoing one. But if you want something to apply directly, vaginal dryness isn't just about sex, in that it doesn't matter just about sex. It's also for the health of your vagina. You want to have it well lubricated for ongoing health, whether or not you're having sex. So you can make up with a carrier oil and actually use essential oils internally. Now, this is a sensitive area, so you want to have them well diluted, and you want to test a little bit at a time, and you want to be, again, absolutely essential that you're using a guaranteed pure therapeutic grade. You do not want anything else apart from the real plant-based properties in there. But I use a blend sometimes, And in fact, I say sometimes because I'm using it less because I don't need to now. But I found this really useful. So with a carrier oil such as jojoba oil or cocoa butter or maybe fractionated coconut oil, again, a pure one, ylang ylang. I've already mentioned that for libido. So that's great. Ylang ylang, lavender and frankincense. Maybe rose, geranium. There's a 5. You might choose 3 of them. So ylang ylang, we've already talked about being libido, good for that part of the anatomy. Lavender is incredibly healing for your skin. And so is frankincense. Frankincense thinks cellular renewal. Rose is also an amazing skin oil, and geranium I've already mentioned. So they are great oils that you could use internally. And what I do is I have a little rollerball made up. As I say, it's well diluted. I literally roll my fingers and insert it internally. There's no other way of putting that.
Okay, I've never tried that. I'm going to trust you on that one, but okay.
Yeah, as I said, it's a sensitive area, so I just sort of reinforce the fact they've got to be well diluted and tested. For some people, they sting. It might be a little bit too much, and maybe the focus is on supporting your estrogen levels through other means. Lots of other lifestyle changes, stress management, and the Women's Monthly Blend with the Clary Calm being the name of the blend that I use, but others are available.
What I'm going to add here is that if you are trying to be intimate and you're finding that lubrication is an issue and you're trying these other different things, but at that moment, the best lubricant is one that is pH balanced, and it's one that doesn't contain a whole lot of nasties. And the only one I've found that I would personally consider using is a product called Yes. And it should be easy to remember. Yes is the name of the website, but it is the purest pH balanced lubricant. So if you are suffering with vaginal dryness, then definitely give that a try. Hopefully the added lubrication would make your sexual experiences more enjoyable, because you're probably not wanting to have sex because it's dry and it's painful.
Absolutely. I mean, there are some recipes that you can use where you can make like literally a little sticker with some cocoa butter and some of these precious essential oils, and maybe insert them in the morning, and that can really help with your lubrication. And I mean, I'm really wary of lubricant products, so thank you for bringing that up, because if they have any chemicals or perfume, that in itself is not good for that area. It's not good for any area. And that's one of the reasons I like essential oils instead of perfumes. You don't have all those chemicals in them. But that's a whole different topic. But
yeah, I've done a lot of research. It's the only one that I will personally use. So I would never recommend anything that I wouldn't be willing to use myself.
Absolutely. Yes. Really good. Really good to hear that.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time today. I have learnt so much. And if my women want to contact you, how do they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to hear from anyone who would like to know more. I have a website which is bloomwithmary.co.uk, and that's BLOOM withmary.co.uk. I also run a Facebook group supporting women who are interested in natural lifestyle ways of managing and supporting their menopausal symptoms, which is called Blooming Menopause. So if you go on Facebook and search for Blooming Menopause, you should find me there. And on my website, I've also got contact details and link to that Facebook page.
Well, thank you very much. I will definitely also put those details down in the show notes. So if you didn't catch it, you can go and grab that there. Thank you so much for your time, Mary. And I'd like to wish you a wonderful day, considering it's morning where you are.
Yes, thank you. And wishing you a lovely evening, because and may you cool down, and may you find some peppermint to help you cool down. And thank you so much for inviting me on. It's been a real pleasure talking to you and sharing this, because I think these are amazing, and I just want people to be able to benefit from them and use them and find something that works for them. So I'm really delighted to be able to share that today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Mary. Next week you will hear from V. O'Brien, and in our conversation she focuses on using aromatherapy oils for headaches, moods and brain fog, all very common symptoms during the menopausal transition. Until then, have a great week. Bye. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibilities for statements made by guests.